Hello, my friends. In the wonderful world of instructional design, there are a lot of job titles and it can be confusing trying to make sense of all of them. So while instructional designers and e-learning developers do have some overlap, they are roles with distinct responsibilities, and one of those roles may be better suited for you or for the hire you're trying to add to your team. So in this video, we'll make sure that you know the differences between instructional designers and e-learning developers. All right, so welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Devlin Peck, and I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dive right into it. So when it comes to instructional designers versus e-learning developers, the best way to understand the difference is by looking at ADDIE. So ADDIE, this is the most popular instructional design model. It's what all of the other processes are essentially based off of. It draws pieces from it. We have a full video about ADDIE, but it's an acronym and it stands for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. Great way to understand what instructional designers do. We're particularly in this video going to be looking at those two Ds, so the design and the development. If you want to learn more about the whole process, check out the full ADDIE video. But let's look at that first D. So this is design. And this refers to instructional design specifically. This doesn't refer to visual design I think that's the most common misconception is when people talk about design in the instructional design field, they may be referring to visual design, but this D refers to instructional design. So that includes interviewing subject matter experts, writing learning objectives, planning or writing the learning experience or solution. So writing storyboards, for example. So it's a lot of writing. It's a lot of talking to stakeholders. And it's like designing this solution essentially. But it's not actually building it out in an authoring tool. That's the next D. So the next D is development. So this is where you take the materials from the instructional designer and bring them to life in the e-learning authoring tool. So after that first D, you might have a written storyboard, but then in that second D, development, that's when you'd actually develop it, bring it to life, do the actual programming on a computer. It's where you actually use the tools to bring things into their final form so that they're ready for the audience. So instructional designers often perform responsibilities from the whole ADDIE process. Now, instructional designers, that one can be either. So if you're looking at an instructional designer job, maybe you're doing a little bit of everything. You are the person who's doing some analysis, you're writing the storyboard and script and objectives, and then you're actually going into a tool like Articulate Storyline and developing it yourself. Maybe you're developing the videos, you're doing it all. But then other more specialized instructional design roles may have you just writing the storyboards and learning objectives and doing that piece we talked about in that first D. But generally, you look at 10 different instructional design roles, they all may be doing something slightly differently. Again, look for ID roles at agencies if you want to focus exclusively on those design tasks in the first D. So if you just want to do the writing and the talking to people, agencies are a good place to look for those instructional design roles because they're generally a bit more specialized. And when I say agencies, I mean agencies who are creating learning solutions for a many different clients with their team. So e-learning developers, on the other hand, are often more specialized, doing little or no ID work and spending a lot of time in e-learning authoring tools. So when you see an e-learning developer role, generally speaking, it will be focused on that second D, development. So you'll generally be working with existing content that's already in pretty good shape, or you'll be working with instructional designers who are doing that front end stuff, doing the writing and handing it off to the developer. Now, depending on the state of the content when it gets to you as an e-learning developer will determine how much instructional design work you have to do. Sometimes it will be some light ID work, but again, there are other roles where you're just getting handed storyboards all day and your job is to make it work in the authoring tools and you just stick to that development. Generally speaking, this is something I've heard too. Some of you may be interested if you're weighing these two job titles. Generally, you have more earning potential if you can do more of the instructional design tasks. So e-learning developers generally speaking, have a lower ceiling, a lower pay ceiling than instructional designers do. However, you can set yourself apart as an e-learning developer by learning advanced authoring tool skills, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and XAPI. And we have some content to help with these things on the channel. But some of my most profitable projects as a freelancer were on these very specialized e-learning development projects where it's a storyline project, but it requires custom JavaScript. And earnings on those type of projects were way higher than instructional design work I was doing at the time. So of course, like with anything, if you do specialize and really set yourself apart with your skill set, you can demand really premium rates and land really specialized roles that can pay very, very well. So of course, if you do want to succeed as an e-learning developer, show off some of those skills in your portfolio, show off that you can do the advanced work. If you know storyline to like a basic or intermediate level, it's probably going to be pretty stiff competition for any decent e-learning developer roles, because again, it is a bit more, that's for people who are much more interested in like the technical side, and they are, you know, open to coding and those sort of things, generally speaking. Or if you're just like really, really fast with basic development, that could be a good way to set yourself apart too with your speed. If you have any other questions about this stuff, of course, let me know in the comments. But if you want to become an instructional designer, if that's why you're watching this, we have a full Become an ID video and playlist. So definitely check that out if you want to become an instructional designer, or if you're more interested in the specialized e-learning developer role. There are plenty of advanced storyline workshops on the channel for you to learn more about that. So thanks for making it to the end. Let me know if you have any questions or which one of these roles you're most interested in, and I will see you in the next video.